finally, some good news on some trans stories. Single-sex schools will not be forced to accommodate trans pupils under new government guidelines to be issued within weeks. Head teachers of girls' schools will be told they can reject pupils who are legally, biologically and in every sense boys, but identify as female. They will not face legal action, and same rules will apply for boys' schools. I don't think that's going to be a particular issue, of course. And crucially, they will be given the power to refuse to use different pronouns if they're demanded by a pupil. So you don't actually have to pretend you don't have to lie by calling a girl a boy or a boy a girl. Let's talk about this with Debbie Hayton, who's a journalist and a trans woman. Good morning to you, Debbie.
Hi, good morning, Julia.
This is the first bit of good news we'd had for quite a long time. We had so much insane news about all of this and the pandering to activists who are basically trying to, force us to lie, and I think perhaps forcing an awful lot of young teenagers into living rather difficult lives. But would you welcome this move by the government?
Well, yes, schools are desperate for guidance from the government. For too long, schools and teachers have been forced to make things up as they go along. The only support available is from the likes of Stonewall, Gendered Intelligence, those sort of organisations. And the time is right for the government to come in with guidance that we can trust.
I mean, that's the crucial thing, isn't it? So many schools are taking guidance from and they want, they're nice people, the people running these schools. They want to do the right thing, and they're told there are a whole load of youngsters now who don't know whether they're boys, girls, non-binary, whatever, and they want to be kind and they want to be helpful to these young people, and so they take advice from the organisations claiming to know. Those organisations are invariably, whether it's Mermaids or Stonewall, pushing an agenda where you must affirm, and a kid who goes, well, I don't really know. Well, in that case, you must be trans. And they are pushing that agenda very, very strongly. Parents, we're told, don't even have to be told if their youngster is, my daughter said actually at school that she thought she was a boy. The school wouldn't even be required to tell me that. Now, we had a case that was in the papers at the weekend, and a teacher at a girls' private school, a single-sex girls' school, where she arrived at a class and said, "Good afternoon, girls," and was told off by Year 7 pupils, so 11-year-olds. You frankly probably need a slap, in my view, for answering back to the teacher. Certainly wouldn't be acceptable in my household. But basically say, well, some of us don't identify as girls. Well, then you shouldn't be at a girls' school would be the correct response. And the teacher had to apologise to these pupils. But the teacher is basically being forced to lie, isn't she? She's taking the case to an employment tribunal, I think quite rightly.
Yes, well, who's in charge in the schools? Yeah. That's the issue. If the children are running the show, then we really are in a bad way. But no, teachers do want to be kind. Schools do want to be kind. And if children are struggling with their gender distress, I think, is the word that's been used for it. If children are struggling, we want to be kind to them. And yes, if a child's struggling with their sex, perhaps we might try and avoid using a pronoun if it upsets them. But if a pronoun slips in, it shouldn't be a disciplinary matter.
No, exactly. But also, look, I used to be very much of the view that it was a matter of courtesy that I would use the preferred pronouns of a guest who was trans. I've now changed my mind. It was Kelly J. Keane actually changed my mind, that then you get into her penis. And a mother who is a he. You do get into a Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass sort of, craziness, I think, and a dishonesty that I think gets us into more of a mess. And it's much better to actually stick with what we know. You're not plural, you're not a they or a them. And if you're a girl, you're a girl, you're a boy, you're a girl. You can live as you do, live your life wearing different clothes, longer hair, and living your life in that identity. But you don't believe that you are actually biologically a different gender than the one you were born. Schools have been put, as you say, into a difficult position here. Do you think there is now a fight back? And again, it's not an anti-trans fight back at all, but it's a pro-children fight back, it's a pro-women's rights and safety fight back, where the majority is just saying, that's enough now. We wanted to be kind and respectful of trans rights, but now this has gone too far.
Yes, it has. It's been like one of those student parties that's gone on too late into the night, and at some point the adults have come in, turned on the house lights and saying, here's the mops and buckets, we've got to clear this place up now. Yeah,
and do you have faith that the government will stick by this and the schools will? Because I certainly know the head teachers and teachers I speak to are just so wary of being sued, of being disciplined. Basically, if the trans activists go for you on social media, that's it, your career's over, you're cancelled. They are terrified of these people.
Well, they are. The law can say one thing, but if social pressures are quite something else.
Yeah.
But this guidance is needed so that head teachers can say, this is the truth, this is science, and this is what the government are advising me to do.
Can I
and it takes the pressure off them.
I know you've got to go one quickly. I want to bring in Paris Green, born Peter Lang, a trans woman. So a man who is a convicted murderer. He's being held at a women's jail unit in Scotland. He wants to become the first prisoner in Britain to have gender reassignment surgery on the NHS. Says that it would make him feel comfortable in the shower and become fully the person I should have been. Should taxpayers be paying for this?
No, we shouldn't. We have a duty to feed this person and keep and shelter, but we haven't a duty to this. And what's more is this person, I believe, is in a women's prison in Scotland.
Yeah.
And again, should I think be somewhere else, and gender reassignment surgery would make that transfer more difficult, so no.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Always a voice of reason on this stuff. Debbie Hayton, thank you very much indeed.